Hello everyone, welcome to QAWithSJ channel. In today's video, we are going to learn wrapper classes. So what is a wrapper class, why we use it, what is the use of it, advantages of wrapper classes. So basically, what is the wrapper meaning in general, the dictionary meaning? Wrapper is something, will wrap it something, uh, on top of something else, right? So here also, we have primitive data types, right? So on top of that, we'll wrap something classes to convert into the objects. So wrapper class is a class, right? That wraps the primitive data types into an object. So basically, we have these primitive data types, right? Like byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. So all these will be converted into wrapper classes. Like we have wrapper classes like byte, short, int, integer, long, float, capital F float, double capital double, char character, boolean. So the reason advantages of these wrapper classes would be to treat the primitive values to be an objects. We can use wrapper classes. So these can be a part of Java.lang packages. So why do we need wrapper classes? Like if there are any operations you want to do with the primitive data types, right? So we cannot do directly since those are just primitive data types, right? So and one more example is especially when we are working with collections like array list, set, map, those are classes, right? So when we are writing the classes, those are objects, right? It store objects basically, these collections. So let's suppose you want to store marks of your students. Let's suppose 100, 90, 80, 76. Those are int values, right? But these collections will store uh, objects only. So we have to convert those into two objects. So here, what was the object wrapper class of int? Capital integer, right? Integer. So that's how we can use it in collections and generics also. We can learn all of these in later classes and cannot be represent null value. Let's suppose uh, there is an int value equal to int salary equal to null. Okay, if we want, we cannot directly give the null value to a primitive data types. But when it comes to integer wrapper classes, we can provide. Let's suppose there is a particular you're working on particular uh, employee application. Now there is a field called salary. Now, if you give the salary as 0, then you won't get an error. But if you give the salary as an null, then you will get a compilation error. So what does it mean if you provide a 0? 0 means the salary of a particular employee is 0. But there might be a scenarios where the salary shouldn't be entered, might not be entered in the application, right? So we are yet to enter the salary, whatever it may be. Let's suppose 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, whatever it may be, right? But so in such cases, to make this uh, compulsory gone, we have to provide 0. But the actual salary shouldn't be 0. It is not entered. It should be null, right? So in such cases, we can use wrapper classes. Let's deep dive into the examples how to define and all. Let me create one package here. Wrapper class, something like this. So just created a package under src. Now let me create wrapper example, something like this. So let's suppose in salary equal to 0. Then you won't get an error. But when you give it as null, then you will get some compilation error. Cannot convert from null to int, right? So it is asking to cast an integer. So this is what it is, right? Let's suppose if you want to define the same thing, let me comment this. See, then you won't get the error, right? In this case, you got the error. So what is the value supposed to provide here? Let's suppose here salary and here salary 1, right? So ideally in your application, when you give like this, we never know, right, whether the user entered the salary or not. But in this case, it is especially specifically saying that salary is 0, but salary shouldn't be a 0, right? It is not, it might not be entered. So that's the cases. This is another example. It will integers allow null values. This is how you can define integers. So basically this is an object. Okay. Now there is two concepts. One is autoboxing and unboxing. So let's see. So definitely you will get these kind of interview questions. What is an autoboxing and all? So autoboxing is nothing but converting from primitive to its wrapper object. Converting from primitive to wrapper object. Let's suppose there is an age of 20, right? So if you want to convert to wrapper object, that's it. You can give like that. Then if you want, you can print this particular value. Now now you can see the value is 20, but in the back end it was converted to wrapper object. Let me run this. See 20. You can see the same value, but it is converted to object. So these can be mostly used in the collections. We can discuss when we are discussing about collections and all. This is called auto boxing. There is another one called unboxing, automatic conversion from wrapper objective to primitive. This is called unboxing. Let's do that example. So this is for converting from wrapper object to primitive. Okay, let's suppose there is an integer value marks equal to some 80. Now if you want to convert, let me give it like marks obj, something like that. Then so now this is called unboxing. Now if you print marks object, you will get 80, and if you print marks also, you will get 80. In both the cases, you can see the value 80 only, but in the back end, it is an object, it is a primitive data type. Okay. So there are some common wrapper class methods. So the another example that we have discussed is the advantage, like we cannot do some operations by calling internal methods on the primitive, but with wrapper classes we can do that, right? Let's suppose. And another thing is converting from string to numbers and numbers to string. We cannot do directly with wrappers. We can do. Let's see that. Let's suppose string str equal to some number. Okay. Now if you want to convert to integer, right? Either you can use integer dot percent. Okay, that's it. Now you are successfully converted the string to int. Or or you can directly give it this in this way also. Now this integer will convert it to int. So that is what unboxing, right? Wrapper object to primitive. Now if you see this particular value, integer value, now it will print 25, right? In the similar fashion, there is another way of doing also, another method. One is parseInt and the another one is integer dot value of. Okay, here you can give that. Then here both will do conversion from string to integer, integer to string. See, now let's give some value as integer, some num equal to 30. Now if you want to convert this particular number to a string, then what you can do is string dot value of, you can give num. So let me change this value variable name, since we already declared on the top. That's it. So this is conversion of string to integer. This is integer to string. Okay. So now I'm printing this. So if you run this, you can see now, you can see 30 got printed, but now it is not an integer, it is a string. So that is the use of value of method. So here it is integer, right? So what your end goal, you wanted to convert to string. So string dot value of. Here it is the string. What is the end goal? You want to convert to int, right? So integer dot value of. So value of will do the, that is the use of value of method, and this parse int, it will do conversion into int from the string. Okay, so these two will do the same thing for us. Let's see other methods also. To string, let's suppose there is an int directly if you want convert. Okay, number dot, this is also another way to convert into string. Ah, integer dot to string of num, that's it. Okay, now you can see this particular integer got converted into a string. This is also another way to convert integer to string, right? So there are some other methods also, like compare and all. Let's suppose if you want to compare two strings, integer dot compare. Let's suppose I gave 10 and 20. Then obviously it will give false. False in this. Now here in this case, compare will give you -1. If it is both are equal, then it will give 0. Okay. Next would be min and max. So here you can use min, and here you can use max. So these are, you can see, right? So we are performing some operations on the integers. So we are using some methods, right? So directly on primitives we cannot do that. With these primitive classes we can do. So 20 and sorry, 10 and 100 would be lost to, yeah, just print it, right? So now similarly, whatever the wrapper class we have integer, right? So similarly, there are some other operations, other methods are available for character also. Let's write some other examples for characters. Let me create one class, character wrapper class. This is very important. There are a lot of programs asked in the interview. So all of these programs based on strings mostly, and in real time also, whenever you want to do something else with the characters, then you can use this inbuilt wrapper class and its methods. Okay, let's suppose there is a character. I gave something like 10. If you want to check, so full-fledged programs and all we can check. Okay, okay, my bad. Okay, now we can see this. So wrapper class, like how we have used integer, then in the similar fashion we can use character dot is letter. If you want, you can give directly, you can give like this, or you can give this one also, both would be the same. Now what would be the output? You can see when you move your cursor, it gives you the return type. So what it returns? It returns it true if the character is letter, false otherwise. So it returns true. Let me give something else. So isn't a letter? No, right? False. Let's suppose similarly there are some other methods also. Is digit. So now is this a digit? Yes, it is a digit. Now it gives true. Earlier, when you check isn't letter, it gave false. But now in this case, it gives true. Let's suppose when you're real time when you're working. Let's suppose there is some order created. Let's suppose string there is an order. It was created with number like ord, then something like this. Now you want to extract only these numbers, right? So then what? So what you have to do? You have to convert this particular string to an array, and then you will run a loop, and then when you run a loop on this particular array, you so it will convert to char array. Okay, when you convert, so the step one would be convert to char array, right? Now second, the next step would be run a loop. Okay, so we will discuss all this progress, but just to give an heads up. So when we are running a loop now, what will happen? Every loop, every time when the loop runs, you will get a characters. So each character, what you can do, you want to extract only the digits. So that at that point of time, you can simply add inside a loop. You can add this particular condition if the character dot is digit of this particular character loop, whatever you are getting, then what it will give. If it is true, then it will go insert. Then you can simply print it. That's how you can extract it, right? So it has is uppercase, is lowercase. You can check is uppercase, is lowercase. So now this is an uppercase, so it will returns true. If it is lowercase, it returns false. To lowercase. If you want to convert to a lowercase or something like that, it will convert to lowercase and it gives you that. And is white space, any white space is there, right? Is white space. Yes, there is a white space, right? So then it will gives you true, right? So compare, if you want to compare two characters, let me copy this. Cat dot compare. So similarly, how we have compared two integers, right? So now it will give 0. If it's not equal, then it will gives -1. Okay. So since these two are not equal, it gives -1. If I give a here, now it will give 0, right? So similarly, toString method. If you want to convert a character to toString, then you can use that. Some char equal to, yeah, already we have defined a on the top, right? Let's see. String str converted 1. I'm just giving some variable name like this. Now character from Java language package dot to string. If you want to convert a character to a string, then you can use like this. Now it is successfully converted, and when you print it, it will be printed. You can see it here, and when you run this, now no, actually it is a character, but it's converted to a string now with dot to string method. Okay, so this is all about wrapper classes. So wrapper classes are basically used for converting primitive data type to object and object to a primitive. It wraps on top of primitives, and it allows primitive values to be treated as a objects. So these are the advantages of wrapper classes, why we use and all of that. Okay, mostly in collections we use it, and there is a concept of auto boxing and unboxing. You will get this interview question for sure, but you have to understand the concept main. Converting from primitive to wrapper automatically, that is auto boxing. Unboxing is other way around, from wrapper to primitive. So these are all important methods for from the integer and character. We can do some operations, and these are used on our on your daily basis. I hope you like the video. Thanks for watching. please do subscribe.